Okay, good. Today we're learning about popularity, fame, and our language. So I have a few slides to walk us through, but we're also going to just discuss the lesson. And I want to hear, obviously, what you guys think about this. And then as we go towards the end, we're going to cover some Bible verses that are tied to the topic that we're looking at. So here we go. We will get started. Okay, so like I said, the topic is language, popularity, and fame. And we're just going to first define what fame is. Fame, this is according to Webster. The dictionary just defines fame as the state of being well known, talked about by many people, especially on account of your notable achievements. So the things that you have achieved, you become well known than the average person. So that is what fame is. So I want to know from you guys, what do you think some of the positive things are? Or rather, what are some of the benefits? I gotta let some people in. I'm sorry, guys. Let's see. All right, there we go.
And Marlene, if you want to make me a co-host, I don't mind letting people in. So
Yes, thank you. That would be awesome. Thank you for that.
Happy to help.
Uh, and it is done. Thank you, Sheree.
You're welcome.
Okay. Did it do it?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So guys, what would you say are some of what do you perceive as some of the benefits of being famous? Like, what would you say would be a benefit to being famous? Just some thoughts that come to mind. I'll give the first one. I think like being famous could give you a platform to advocate for different causes. Like for example, I see Tim Tebow, who is a football player, he advocates for disabled kids. He raises money for them. He hosts red carpet events for them. So that's a benefit of being famous, right? What are the things you guys see as being positives or the upside of being famous?
Well, I know that you can be like a role model for like kids like me, because I know there are a lot of role models who are celebrities or celebrities who are role models.
That's awesome. I love that, Jaden. And can you think of one or two people that you might look up to?
Well, the one that I really like is Gabby Douglas, because I remember at the beginning of JosiahKids, I had put her down as my favorite athlete. So she's one of the people that I really look up to.
That's awesome. Exactly. So you can really inspire and help to be a role model to younger people. So that's a huge benefit to being famous and well known. Anything else you guys can think of? So, how many of us want to be famous? How many of us wouldn't mind being famous?
There was a time, if I can speak, there was a time when I really wanted to be famous when I was younger. But even, don't tell anybody, this is like one of my little secrets. I used to pretend like I was on talk shows and I would be both the interviewer and the interviewee. So I'd ask myself the questions and then I'd answer. So I envisioned my, well, you know, we all got our thing. I wanted to be on the Arsenio Hall show. That was a big thing.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was something that was a really big thing for me. But I don't know if anyone else has ever done that. Safe space, right?
Exactly. I love it. And I think I saw Donovan's hand go up too. Donovan, you may have a desire to be famous?
I just wouldn't mind being famous. I don't really
You would. Okay, you wouldn't mind. I understand that. I do. I do too. Anyone else think of any benefits to being famous? Okay, so here are some things I wrote down. I said that fame can be on the upside. You're gonna get admiration. A lot of people will admire you. That's not a bad thing for people to admire you, right? You're gonna get a lot of attention. Um, And with that, you probably have a lot of credibility. So people will say, people quote people all the time, famous people, to say, hey, Mark Twain said. And if Mark Twain said it, then it's like, oh, well, then it counts for something. But if you say Marlene said it, like, who is Marlene? Like, we don't know who you are, right? So when you're famous, it can bring a lot of good credibility. And therefore, what you say can really hold a lot of weight and people will listen to you. You can also monetize your image. You can, meaning like you can use your image to make a ton of money, and that money could go to benefit people. I know one of the singers, very popular singers, Shakira. I saw her story featured on, I think it was 60 Minutes, and I didn't know that much about her. I didn't know she was from Colombia, and she just taught herself English, and she did a bunch of stuff. But anyway, she's made a ton of money. Her image has made her a lot of money. But I also found out that she has some nonprofits that she supports, and there's a lot of work she does in her community with the money that she has made. So there's a huge upside to being famous, especially if you can put your name on some sneakers and hey, they're Jordans and people can pay $300-400 for them because your name is on it. So that's not a bad thing. Advocacy for causes, we talked about that. We gave an example of Tim Tebow there. And then you can publicize events, and if we say, hey, I don't know, Lecrae will be at an event, and it might get a little more publicity than just saying, whoever will be there, right? So you can help publicize events. And then, of course, influence. And influence is that, ability to persuade people to go in a certain direction. So people who follow, let's just say, for example, LeBron James online. Hey, if LeBron James wears that t-shirt and it says JosiahKids, that's some serious influence. And if he wears a shirt, like, we saw that with Kobe Bryant. He wore a lot of stuff, and when he wore that stuff, people listened to what he was saying, and there's a lot of influence that comes with that. So you can influence people either to do good, or you can influence them to do bad, but either way, it's a positive that fame can bring. Now, when you look at the downside of fame, there's some stuff that's not so good that comes with that you kind of can't have one without the other. And you have to kind of learn how to manage it. So I just want to highlight these things because as we talk about this, some of you may grow up and become famous. You may even become famous tomorrow. Who knows? You might be doing some stuff that we don't even know about. I mean, you're playing soccer just fast, you're really good at it, and you could become famous. So what are the things that you should be prepared to manage in your life should God give you fame or make you famous, or this becomes something that you end up with? Here's what you need to know. Fame comes with its own burden, just as much as it brings a lot of good positives. It brings a lot of scrutiny. People will scrutinize everything. There's always somebody reading up on you and your family life and what you put down or what you said or what you didn't say and how you reacted. Oh, this happened in New York. You didn't say anything. What does that mean? Or you said something. Why did you say it like this? What does that mean? And why are you saying that? So you're always open to be scrutinized by a lot of people. And then, of course, with that comes criticism. Just as many people love you, for some strange reason, it happens without fail. For all the people who are loved, there's also critics that come with that. So you have, I don't care, name the person, they have a critic. However, no matter how famous they are, no matter how credible they are, there's a critic that comes with that. So they are going to criticize everything you do. Oh, Tyler Perry, you only paid for those old ladies to get their groceries for free in Atlanta for Christmas, only because you want to promote your next event or whatever the case is. Not everybody will see your motives as pure. Not everybody will see, we always assume that everyone will believe the best in us. Most will, but about 20% always won't. So you have to be prepared for that. And then the other part is loss of privacy. I mean, people are in your business and they want to know what your net worth is. They will Google that. They will look up all kinds of stuff on you. Um, how many relationships were you in? Did you beat somebody up? Whatever you've done, you have no privacy. Everyone wants to know everything there is to know about you. So you have to look at that side as well. And then we know the fame is, the people who were super famous. I could name some people who were famous when I was younger. You guys will be like, who? So fame is really temporal. It's not a permanent thing. Today you could be in, tomorrow no one cares about what you have to say, right? So it's temporal. And then there is this other thing called loss of normalcy. So you used to be able to just get up and go to Starbucks and grab your coffee and go to work, and things were normal. Now you can't just get up and go to Starbucks and grab your coffee because everybody knows you. And you're going to get stopped along the way. People want this, people want that, people want this. So I remember Michelle Obama talking about this, and she said when she came to the White House, she thought things were just going to be like, okay, yeah, things have changed, but not like crazy. So she's organizing a date. Her and Barack are getting ready to go on a date. And she's like, wait a minute, where are all these people going? It's like cars and cars of Secret Service agents going with you on the date. Like, you're not going alone anymore. There was no such thing. It was done. So you lose your normalcy. When you
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't know what happened there. It shows that I was muted. I've not touched the thing. Okay, sorry about that. So being famous also, welcome Thomas, by the way, and anyone else who's joined. Being famous also draws people to you, right? So you will always have a ton of people around you when you become famous. The problem is you don't have a way of telling who is there for the right reason. Who is there for your fame or who is there for your benefit, like your truest friends. So you may be able to say, hey, you know what, Sheree, you were with me in the valley, man. I know we are friends. Like, I know we are friends because you've been tested in the times when I had nothing, no one knew who I was. So I'm going to hold on to that because I know this is someone I trust. But for the new people who come, I think Lecrae said something. He voiced his opinion when we had the Black Lives Matter movement. And within 20 minutes, he had lost like half of his followers on Instagram. So if someone is a true friend, they're going to hear you out. They're going to hear what you're saying. They're going to be burdened about the things that burden you. They're not just going to unfollow you because, so this is, again, some of the burden that comes with fame is that you just never know who is really there for the right reason. But you pray that God gives you the discernment. Then the last one I have here is subject to opinions. I mean, you will be subject to so many opinions. You will be trying to decipher which opinion is best. Some people will say, nope, I don't think you should do that. I think you should do this. Then someone else will say, no, I don't think you should do that. I think you should do this. So you'll have so many opinions to listen to. And then now you have to have the wisdom to know which is the right decision to make. So those are some of the upsides and the downsides of fame. And I want you guys to be clear on that so that when you're praying for fame, or when you're striving to become famous, or you become famous, you should know what life you're saying yes to, and you should know what comes with that. And also, when you're looking at famous people in your circle, know that they're not just, it's not all cake and roses. They're carrying a burden that we don't get to see most of the time. Now, popularity is something that Jared Kissoon, who is on this call, can tell us a lot about, because he wrote a poem about popularity, right? I put the definition up here. It says the state or condition of being liked, admired, or supported by many people. But Jared, tell us a little bit about popularity and what inspired you to write that poem, first of all, and also what have you learned, and what can you say about this subject?
I think the main thing that inspired me to write it was the negative effects of it, like the distractions, because I was like noticing that I was drifting away from like my morals, from my family also, and just being close to God in general. So the downside of that is that it like takes your eyes like away from the things that are important to you, for sure. And it's because of the time that we're like living in and the age that we're at right now, even for me, that we all want to be noticed and liked by everyone around us. So that that alone just tends to have like a really big effect on like what we want to do and the decisions we make and how we make those decisions. So being popular, and it's not always like what it's like portrayed to be, like everyone likes you and you're happy because everybody likes you. It's not like that. It's just that it it's also temporal, like you said. With fame, it's just like fame, but it's also for just like a period of time, and it causes you to change almost everything about you to make people like you more. So it's become kind of like something that you want to be more popular. You know, you like reach a point, you're like, I'll do this when I get more popular, or I'll do this, or I'll stop trying to strive for more once I get this level of popularity. So it's just kind of like a slippery slope to get into. So once you have like those real people around you and people that can, support you and like you, I would say just not settle, but be grateful for that. Be content with the people around you rather than striving for everyone around you to want to like you.
That's awesome. You said a good bit of a lot of good things. And I love that you said all those things, because we're going to talk about some of them. Exactly. You started off on such a good note. Do you guys have anything you can think of other than what Jared has shared that you would say would be an upside to popularity? It's very similar to being famous, but you can be famous and not popular, right? Like Hitler was famous, but I don't think I would consider him popular. Like, when you're known, you can be known for the wrong things, and you can be known for doing a lot of horrible things and causing a lot of havoc. So just because you're famous doesn't mean you're popular. So there's a difference, right? Because being popular, you're being admired, you're being liked, you're getting a lot of, people like you. So can you guys think of any other things you can add to what Jared said? Positive things that you would say, hey, popularity can help in this way or in that way.
I would say like using your influence to for good, influence others to do good. Maybe for influence others to follow God, or influence others to give to the poor, or something like that. Like influence others to do something good.
That's awesome, Janicia. I love it. Definitely. I agree with you completely that, sometimes you're not even trying to make yourself popular, become popular, but you just become popular. And if you do, you can use that popularity to lead people to God, and you can point them in the right direction. You can be a good example. And my note right here, or rather my slide, it's very similar to being famous, but with a few slight changes, right? So here, popularity is it's deeply attractive, and it promises a lot of significant benefits. So you will have an abundance of fans, social acceptance, people, you post things, people like it, and it's not like you get 3 likes. You're getting like hundreds, thousands of likes, right? Um, Invitations to the best events. You're in the in crowd. You're rubbing shoulders with the right people. You can tell us where you were. You were at Oprah's house. You were at so and so. You're popular. People like you. They want you there. If you're not at the party, it just doesn't feel right. We want you there. That's popularity. Now, on the downside, you're gonna attract a bunch of haters too, right? So I never really used this word for a long time because I don't know, it just sounded so like superficial, right? Haters, like, yeah, haters, whatever. But I've come to know how real that is. I mean, it's so real, and in the most contemporary way, it's the best way to put it because the culture understands what that means. Jesus had haters, right? I mean, real haters. Um, think of Daniel. He was doing the right thing. He was full of a spirit of excellence. He was being promoted left and right. He served under this king. Then another king wanted to keep him on board. Then the next king kept him on board. And the leaders conspired to throw him into a lion's den because they didn't like him. They just didn't like him. And they're like, if you look, you're not going to find anything wrong with this Daniel dude. But I don't like him. We need to conspire. Let's ask the king to put together a decree so that whoever doesn't pray to him for the next 30 days will be thrown into the lion's den, because they knew Daniel wasn't going to do that. Like, that's a conviction. He's going to pray to God. And he did. And of course, they said, King, this cannot be changed. We got to throw him in. And they threw him into the lion's den. When you're popular, when you're doing right, when you're well known, you will attract haters. It just goes with the territory. Joseph had haters. He got thrown and sold into Egypt. Every person who has done good, David had haters. You will have haters. You will have haters. It's so hard to hear that, but you will. Even when you're not so popular, you will still have haters. So you have to accept that, manage that, and be clear on that. Because if you try to please everybody, to try to make everybody like you, you will find yourself doing what Jared described. You keep changing yourself to try to make more people like you. You can't do that because you'll never ever please everybody. And then the next one is this was hard, but you will attract stalkers as well. I think Sandra Bullock, one of the very famous actresses, she's come to find this out the hard way. She's very, very good at what she does. And I mean, people were, some weird dude just stalking her, and she'd find somebody in her house. And can you imagine how terrifying that is? You don't want to be at home alone ever, because this guy kept following her everywhere she went. He was obsessed with her. So that's another thing you got to remember. And then you don't have privacy. Again, we talked about it. And then this one is very, very, it breaks my heart, but it's real. The loss of relationships, because the more popular you become, the more some people start backing away. Like real friends, real family members, they either back away from you because they're like, you think you're something now, I knew you when you had nothing. And you see this all the time. People actually begin to pull away from you because they can't really be happy for you. They can't really be happy with you. So they're like, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with you anymore. I can't, I'm not as popular as you are. I post something, 5 people like it. You post something, 1,000 people like it. And so people start to back away from you. And you may not realize that popularity brings loss, but it does. And it actually leads to the last 3 things you're going to see that I wrote about, the loneliness and a lot of depression. Like people start feeling so isolated, even though they have a lot of likes. The other thing I said here is unrealistic expectation. So famous people will tell you, all your family members will expect for you to pay for college for all their kids because you are an athlete and you're making a lot of money. They'll expect that every problem they have, that you fix it. If they can't make the rent, you need to make the rent for them. There's so many unrealistic expectations. And when there's trouble in your community, people are like, hey, what are you doing about it? You should be doing something about it. You may have causes that you're already supporting, but people will have unrealistic expectations of you. And then the other thing is just jealousy and competition. And Jared touched on that too. Sometimes you'll find yourself comparing yourself to others, and then you're trying to, keep up with what people think of you. It becomes such a stressful thing. Like, it's supposed to be fun, but it isn't fun. And he said that it's supposed to be fun, but you find yourself more anxious. And so you're trying to do more things, more things. So if you put out a song and it was a big hit, guess what? You got to come up with an even bigger hit. Now, what do I do? What can I do to outdo that one? Or if I did a second song, they didn't like it as much. Now you're stressed out and you're anxious because it's like, oh man, my fans don't think I'm as good anymore. That's just the world you're living in at this point. And you're always in high demand. So you're going to get a lot of emails, a lot of texts, a lot of inboxes, and people are sending you these requests to come speak, to come do this, to come do this. And you'll be torn because, like Jared said, you find yourself being pulled away from the word of God. You're pulled away from your family. You're pulled away from things that are really, really important. So as we admire these people who are popular, let's also remember to pray for them. And should you become popular, we will be praying for you. That God will continue to keep you in balance, because we know that is not a world, like I said, it's not what it's all, they put it out there. It looks so good because you're dressed so nice all the time and the pictures are perfect and you're riding in the best cars, but you're also carrying a lot of other burdens that no one would really wish on anybody else. Again, same thing, fake friends, doesn't last. A lot of loneliness. You heard of Robin Williams. I think he committed suicide and he was just like, yeah, I made all the money. I was famous. I was well known. I was popular. Got all this stuff. But guess what? I was also so depressed, so alone. I could not stand it anymore that I decided to take my own life. So that's the sobering aspect of popularity. It is not what we think it to be. Now, the third part of our discussion.
Ms. Marlene, may I add one other thing to
Yes, please.
very quickly?
Yeah.
A lot of also what we see is literally moving magic. So you see people in these gowns and you see them in these cars. They often don't own those items. They don't own the cars. They don't own the gowns and
I love that.
many of them they make the money. Let's say, have a successful album. Well, makes $1 million. Well, that $1 million is spread out amongst many people.
True.
You have to present to the world, like I said, it's like a game almost.
Yeah.
They as if they've got all of this success and all of this money and all of this power, and really they don't. So
that's so good. Thank you, Sheree, for adding that. That is so, so good and so true, because that's the aspect we don't get to see. So that if you have someone who signed you up, then they have to get a cut. There's a contract in place. There's things, you'll be forever tied to this person for forever. Then there's music you wrote that they say you really don't own that because we kind of own this. Like, there's a lot of other legal things tied to this. So I think the point is, I love the word that Jared used, this contentment. You may not realize what a gift it is not to be known, well known, or have all these people, rallying behind you. You may not realize what a gift it is to be obscure and not known and to be so normal. Like, you can get in the car and just go wherever. No one is scrutinizing everything you say. It is a gift. Jared, do you have something to add?
Yeah. I was talking with my sister last night and I read a quote by Socrates that says, if you're not contented if you're not content with what you have, you'll never be content with what you would like to have.
Mm.
And I think that's very important, like talking about the popularity things and all that, to avoid that chasing something that you'd want to have, and that continuous like chase for something that you might never like achieve, because you're always going to be wanting more and more.
That's so good. So, so good. I love that. I love that. It is a gift to be where we are with our families, with God, and be able to, eat Cheerios for dinner if you want to, and stay up late, watch a movie. Like nobody's, the phone isn't ringing, 1,000 people aren't calling. It is a blessing. It may not seem that way, but enjoy where we are and thank God for that. It is a gift. It is a gift. So let's touch on this, because I know we are almost out of time, but I really want us to touch on this a little bit. I wanted this topic to also address the issue of language. Language, this is just a simple definition from Webster. It says it's the principal method of human communication. Consists of our words, what we use in our structured and conventional ways of conveying speech, writing, or gesture. So again, in this one is a little different, because what I wanted us to talk about is good language, bad language. The words that we choose to use, the words that we say, I'm not going to use those words. So I was so tempted to create a slide with all the bad words that I am talking about when I say bad words, because sometimes we can assume that people know what we mean by bad words, and not actually, they may not know what we mean by that, or they may know of you but don't know that this is a bad word that you shouldn't be using. So I was going to create a slide, but I decided, and I wasn't going to read it out loud. I was just going to have us look at it and see those words, because when my daughter, the oldest daughter, was in kindergarten, I remember we had moved to Suwannee, we'd take her to the nearby daycare, and then they would get her on the bus with other students and then drive them to school. And then when they take, in the afternoon, they pick them up, bring them back to Suwannee. And then I worked downtown. My husband was working downtown as well. So by the time it's evening, we would come and pick her up from the school with her younger sister. So I remember one time we picked her up from school and brought her home. So we're doing bath time and we're doing showers, and she's just singing and rhyming her words, and then she says something, and I was like, whoa, 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 what did you just say? And then I was like, okay, maybe it was just by fluke that it came out that way. And she just cried and cried, and then I said, no, it's okay, just tell me what you said. I just wanted to, what's the word that you used? And it turned out she used the B word. She was in kindergarten, and I was like, where'd you hear that word? And she's bawling, crying. She said, and she told me, it was this kid on the bus that's been using that word on the bus, and he says this word all the time. I said, my heart is broken. Like, we don't use those words in this house. But she didn't know. She didn't even know how bad it was. But she knew something wasn't right with the word because of her reaction. So I said, okay, I have a choice as a mom. I can either, because I was torn in that moment. I was like, okay, we don't use those words. However, I want to talk to you about bad words. And so we had a lesson on bad words. And then I said, I can either wait until they hear all the bad words out there and then repeat them. Then I have to come chasing behind that bus to say, hey, that's another bad word, don't say that. That's another bad word, don't say that. Or I can just sit down and have this conversation and tell you, hey, these are bad words. We don't use these words. And this is why we don't use these words. And this is why this is a bad word. So my choice as a parent, I decided I was going to tell them these are bad words. These are what they are. And this is what it looks like. So I don't know what approaches your parents or, your pastors, your teachers take, but I am really for the idea of explicitly saying, this is a bad word. we don't use this word. And I know we don't have time, but I wanted to talk about why we don't use those bad words. So I always say this to people. If you're going to listen to a song, for example, you guys are young. I love music. From the time I was younger, I've always loved music. And so what I have committed to doing and what I encourage you guys to commit to doing is this. When you are listening to a song, dissect those lyrics. Take the lyrics, Google them. You can do it on your phone, you can do it online. Pull up the lyrics and look at them. Because if you're dissecting the lyrics and you're looking line by line, if those lyrics have words, because sometimes you're singing along, the song is so catchy, you're not even thinking about what it's saying, but it could be undermining the very God who you're praying to and asking to protect you that day. And it could be undermining your sisters, the women of God in your life, your mom, it could be undermining women or whoever. You need to dissect your lyrics. Listen, unpack what you're listening to and say, is this something I really should be listening to? It doesn't matter how catchy the song is. I will not listen to it, because here's how I look at it. If I pay 99 cents iTunes and get that song and download it to my phone, then guess what? I am funding your bad language. I am funding things that dishonor my God. And I am sorry, I'm not going to fund things that dishonor. And later on, my kids will catch on and they'll start listening to that as well. So I refuse to do that. Now, let's just look at some of the positives and the negatives. Good language, bad language. And I think I want to start with the bad side, and then we'll go to the end on the better side. So bad language. I am old enough. I've worked in corporate America for many, many years, and I have learned a few things, and I can share these tips with you guys. People do this. They use bad language even at work, if you can believe it or not. It's not a good thing, but there are people who do very freely do it. But I tell you what, foul language leads to adverse effects. It makes you seem dishonest. You could be telling the truth, but the fact that you're using these words while you're talking makes you sound and seem dishonest. The other thing is, it makes you seem less intelligent, because you're trying to express yourself. You're upset, you're disappointed, you're frustrated, but you can't find the vocabulary to express what you're feeling. So instead, you go blankety blank, blank, blankety blank, and people are like, oh man, he can't talk. Like, you have to remember that you don't look cool. You might think you look cool, but you seem less intelligent when you're using these bad words. People will hold a lower opinion of you every time you're using bad words. Your friends may think it's funny. It may look like fun initially. It may actually feel very satisfying if somebody, you guys get your driver's license, you start driving and you don't like the slow driver and you're cutting them off and you and it may feel satisfying to your flesh, that is, but I can assure you, it's something you do not want to develop. You want to stay away from those words. You want to find the right way to express your feelings. Also, cursing and using those words can be very disrespectful, very offensive. You may think it's actually okay, but people in your midst may be like, oh man, like, why does she talk like that? She's so pretty, but she talks like that. And it just strips her of her beauty. I don't see the beauty anymore when you're talking like that. And then you can be very, you can embarrass yourself and embarrass others when you're talking like that. The other thing is, those words are contaminating to your spirit, especially. The more and more, the Bible says that good, you can't have, like, a good tree can't bear bad fruit, and a bad tree can't bear good fruit. And it's out of the abundance of the heart that the mouth speaks. So if you're talking that way, it means your heart is defiled already. So it's contaminating. And then it's a poor example to those younger than you. I can assure you right now, if I hear you talking like that, I will never trust you with my kids. I can never say, can you watch them? Would you, hang out with them? Or I don't trust you with my kids. And I don't want them to leave your presence talking like that. So guess what? I keep my distance. And then poor language and cursing and doing all that, it leads to missed opportunities. And I've seen it over and over. I saw it at Coke over and over, where there are people who had a lifestyle and a mouth that kept a ceiling that is self-imposed on them. Opportunities came for promotion, overlooked. And they would complain about it and complain about, but you're overlooked because of that very thing that you don't even realize how much that thing is hindering you. And then it's, again, using that type of language causes difficulty forming close relationships. For example, Sheree, I don't know how much you would love for somebody to take you on a date and be like, you want to, like talking like that. How would that make you feel?
It's over.
It's over. Exactly. It's a deal breaker. It's a deal breaker. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'll let you pay for that first meal, but you're not going to see me again. That's for sure. I'm sorry. So it really does suffocate and close the door to relationships. And it makes it difficult to form close relationships. Even if you decide to date, after a while, when you're upset and you're mad and something didn't go well, guess what? You're going to end up cussing at the person you're dating. That's disrespectful. It's so disrespectful. They're not going to, you're violating a trust that they don't want to deal with again. So that once that thing is over, they're like, I'm not going back that way. Because they'll meet a guy or a girl who respects them and talks to them nicely. They want to date them over you. So again, it leads to superficial friendships. People who talk like that, of course, they want to roll with people who talk like that. So you'll think that it's cool because your friends say the same thing. But guess what? Those who don't want to hang around y'all. Poor communication skills and unanswered prayer, because God promises to bless the person who keeps away from this kind of language. Good language, and let me see how much time we have. Oh gosh, we're running out of time. Good language, you get the respect of others. A lot of open doors, a lot of opportunities come your way. Promotion. You are perceived as intelligent, and you are intelligent if you choose not to speak that way. You attract blessings. A lot of answered prayers. People admire you. People trust you with their kids and trust you with their home. They're like, hey, I'm going out of town. Here's my card. Do you need anything? And then you will always be considered for leadership roles when you use good language and you respect others and respect yourself. Healthy relationships and a great example. Now, I really, and I'm going to email these slides to you through your parents, you guys. I want us to look at these verses, and I'll just choose you guys to read. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I want to see your faces so that I can ask you guys to help us read some of these verses. Okay. I'm just going to choose you guys as we go, and I'll have you all read a verse each. Chloe, do you mind reading this verse for us, please?
A man's pride will bring him low, but a humble spirit will obtain honor.
Thank you. Exactly. A man's pride will bring him low, but a humble spirit will bring him honor. Thank you so much. All right. Let me see. Thomas, do you mind reading this verse for us, please?
All right. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and the one who humbles himself will be exalted.
Thank you. Awesome. Yes. So you don't have to look to exalt yourself. If you humble yourself, God will exalt you. Thank you. All right. Jaden, do you mind reading this one for us, please?
But now you must put them all away: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and obscene talk from your mouth.
Thank you. And that's Colossians 3:8. Put away that talk from your mouth. No slander, no malice, no wrath, no anger, and no cursing. That's what that means. Thank you, Jaden. And let's see, who else do I have here? Japheth. Japheth from Kenya, can you please read Ephesians 4:29 for us?
Do not let anyone unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that may benefit those who listen.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Exactly. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. That's talking about those words we just talked about, the bad words. And then Donovan, do you mind reading this for us, please?
For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from this world.
Exactly. And a different translation says, the world offers the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. We're looking for, a pride in our achievements, but these are not from God. God exalts the humble. He's looking for us to humble ourselves. And I'm going to ask, what is Japheth Kitsun? Are you still here, Japheth? Can you please read this one?
Okay. James 4:6. This is why it says, God gives grace to the humble, but opposes the proud.
Great job. Love it. This is one of my favorite verses in the whole Bible. I love this verse. God gives grace to the humble, but opposes the proud. Pride puts him off. He distances himself from you. But when you humble yourself, he's attracted to that, and he draws near. He helps you more when you are humble. Now, I'm going to this is actually a verse from 1 Timothy 6:6, and I want to let Janicia read this one. Very simple. I just put it down here, Janicia.
Godliness with contentment is great gain.
Yes. Godliness with contentment is great gain. Thank you, Janicia. And that's why, again, I was happy with the word Jared used, because that's really what we want to do, guys. We want to live our lives in purity, humility, and honor. And we want to be content and happy with, we don't have to be liked, or we don't have to be popular or famous. We're blessed the way we are, and we should enjoy our friendships. Even if you only have 3 friends, that's okay. That's more than enough. It's awesome. You are blessed when you have that. So I know we've run out of time, so let's just end the call. We will see you on the other side. I'll let you guys have your 5-6 minute break. Sorry, but thank you for being here. Love you guys. See you at the other session. Bye.